You're 5 years old, clutching your mother's worn kimono as strangers examine you like prize livestock at market. Your family's rice fields have failed for the third year running, and desperation hangs in the air thicker than incense smoke. A woman in elaborate silk robes steps forward, her face painted white as bone, lips crimson as fresh blood. She inspects your hands, your posture, the way you bow when commanded. Your mother's tears fall silently as silver coins change hands. Just like that, your childhood ends, and your transformation into something both revered and reviled begins. Welcome to the floating world of Edo-period Japan, where beauty becomes both a blessing and a curse. The Okiya feels like stepping into another realm entirely. Wooden floors gleam like mirrors. Sliding doors whisper secrets as they open and close, and the air carries the heavy scent of camellia oil and face powder. Your new mother, the Oka-san, towers above you with eyes that miss nothing. She speaks in measured tones about honor, artistry, and the sacred duty you'll carry. But beneath her flowery words lies a harsh truth. You've been sold into a world where every gesture, every glance, every breath will be choreographed to perfection. Your first lesson isn't about dance or music, it's about pain. They bind your feet into wooden sandals called okobo, elevated platforms that force you to take tiny, shuffling steps. Walking becomes an art form of calculated balance and controlled suffering. Your ankles scream with each movement, but complaining isn't an option. Grace under pressure, they tell you. Beauty requires sacrifice. The other girls watch with knowing smiles as you stumble through your first attempts at proper movement. At 7, your real education begins. Dawn breaks with the sound of shamisen strings being tuned, and your day stretches endlessly before you like a tightrope over an abyss. You learn to hold a fan properly, to pour tea with movements so fluid they seem choreographed by invisible spirits. Your fingers bleed from practicing calligraphy until the brush strokes flow like silk ribbons. Poetry becomes your language. Each verse memorized until you can recite classical works while arranging flowers or applying face paint. The older apprentices, called maiko, glide past you in their elaborate kimono like living works of art. Their faces are painted in the traditional oshiroi style, white powder covering every inch of visible skin except for 2 precise lines at the hairline. You watch them practice their dance routines, bodies moving with impossible precision to the haunting melodies of traditional songs. They make it look effortless, but you notice the way their hands shake with exhaustion when they think nobody's watching. Your own transformation begins gradually. First comes the hair, pulled and twisted into elaborate styles that require sleeping on special wooden pillows to maintain. The weight of the ornaments makes your neck ache constantly. Then the makeup lessons start. Hours spent learning to apply the white powder without streaking, to paint your lips into perfect crimson bows, to create the illusion of ageless beauty even when you're barely old enough to understand what beauty means. The shamisen becomes your constant companion. Its 3 strings your gateway to mastering the musical arts that separate true Oiran from common entertainers. Your fingers develop calluses from endless practice, but the melodies that emerge grow more haunting with each passing month. You learn classical pieces that tell stories of love and loss, of seasons changing and hearts breaking. The music becomes part of your soul, each note carrying the weight of centuries of tradition. Dance training pushes your body beyond its limits. Every movement must convey meaning, from the subtle tilt of your head to the precise angle of your extended fingers. You practice the same routine hundreds of times until muscle memory takes over, until you can perform even when exhaustion threatens to collapse you. The fans become extensions of your arms, fluttering like butterfly wings to punctuate each gesture with delicate emphasis. By age 10, you've mastered the basics. But mastery in this world means something different than anywhere else. You can write poetry that would make scholars weep, perform dances that capture the essence of changing seasons, and carry conversations about philosophy and art that would challenge educated men. Yet you're still just a child in an adult's world, preparing for a destiny that grows more complex with each passing day. The other girls become your sisters in suffering and ambition. You share secrets whispered behind painted fans, comfort each other when homesickness threatens to overwhelm your carefully constructed composure. Together, you navigate the intricate social hierarchy of the Okiya, where favor can shift as quickly as cherry blossoms fall. Your first real test comes at 12 when a wealthy merchant requests your presence at a private tea ceremony. Your hands tremble as you apply the white powder, each stroke of the brush carrying the weight of everything you've learned. The Okasan watches with hawk-like eyes as you dress in layers of silk that cost more than your birth family's annual harvest. The kimono alone weighs 30 pounds, each fold precisely arranged to create an illusion of ethereal beauty that masks the calculating business transaction beneath. The merchant's compound reeks of money and masculine entitlement. You kneel in perfect seiza position for 3 hours straight, legs going numb while you pour tea with movements so practiced they've become automatic. He speaks of poetry and philosophy, but his eyes roam your painted face like a buyer examining merchandise. Your training kicks in as you respond with carefully crafted verses that flatter his ego while revealing nothing of your true thoughts. Every smile costs you a piece of your soul. Back at the Okiya, the other girls cluster around you like moths to a flame, hungry for details about your first real encounter with a client. You describe the merchant's silk-lined rooms and expensive incense, but you don't mention how his fingers lingered when he handed you payment. Some knowledge cuts too deep to share, even with sisters who understand your world better than anyone else ever will. The seasons blur together in endless cycles of preparation and performance. Spring brings cherry blossom viewing parties where you entertain guests beneath pink petals that fall like tears. Summer festivals require you to dance in sweltering heat while maintaining perfect composure, sweat threatening to streak your makeup despite the powder's supposed staying power. Autumn tea ceremonies test your knowledge of seasonal poetry, while winter performances in unheated rooms challenge your ability to hide your shivering behind graceful fan movements. Your reputation begins to spread through the pleasure districts like ripples in a pond. Wealthy samurai request your company for moon viewing expeditions. Influential merchants compete to book your services for important business dinners. Each encounter adds another layer to your carefully constructed persona, until sometimes you forget where the performance ends and your true self begins. The girl who once ran barefoot through rice paddies becomes a distant memory, buried beneath layers of silk and social expectation. At 15, you reach a crossroads that every Oiran faces. The Okasan calls you to her private chambers, where morning light filters through paper screens like judgment through divine eyes. Your debut as a full Oiran approaches, bringing with it opportunities that could set you up for life or destroy you completely. She explains the mizuage ceremony with clinical detachment, describing how your virginity will be auctioned to the highest bidder. The proceeds will help pay off your debt to the house, but the psychological cost remains unspoken. The ceremony arrives like dawn after the longest night of your life. You're dressed in the finest silk the Okiya owns, your face painted with trembling hands that have forgotten how to be anything but perfect. The highest bidder is a daimyo whose wealth could buy entire provinces, but his eyes hold the same hunger you've seen in every man who's ever paid for your company. As the final negotiations conclude and gold changes hands, you realize the girl who once dreamed of freedom has become the woman who sells it one performance at a time. Your transformation is complete, but the floating world never stops spinning, and tomorrow brings new clients, new performances, new pieces of yourself to auction off. In this life of painted smiles and choreographed desires, you've mastered every art except the one that matters most. Remembering who you were before the war, LD decided who you had to become,